Thanks, Rebecca.
Yeah, gosh, that'll do the trick, won't it?
Yeah, that should be fine. Why is it doing this? Rebecca, have you got any idea? Oh, it's fine. Never mind. No, I'm fasting at the minute. Thanks, though.
It's going to be so tiny then.
All righty. Everybody, guys. Connor, sorry to interrupt your conversation. I'm starting. What are you doing? You can finish it quickly. Okay. Okay. Is it all right if we do it at the end? Please, thanks. Sorry to be awkward. All right. Firstly, thank you all for coming. Hopefully you find this useful. A lot of it, I actually kind of hope that you don't find it very relevant, because that means you're in a good place. Some of it, if you do find it relevant, then I'm glad that I put it in. Hopefully it'll make you feel a bit better. I suppose I've got a few disclaimers right at the start. First one is, the second slide is a bit depressing, right? But the reason that I put it in is because if anyone does find it relevant, it's going to be incredibly useful. Another disclaimer, I might cry on that same slide, because it's very personal and it is very deep. If I do, just bear with me. I try to cry properly rather than lose my stuff and break down. So it should be fine. Third, sorry if there's any profanity. I'll try and keep it to a minimal, but sometimes naughty words slip out when I'm speaking with passion. So, yeah, sorry. I think that's it. I think that's all my introductions. So, anyone got any ideas of what resilience actually is?
Strength, consistent strength in yourself.
In
like stay strong.
like a what? Sorry.
You know when you say like stay strong, when you stay strong.
Yeah. In the face of what?
Hardship.
Yeah. Exactly. It's a stress. Yeah. Pretty spot on. My interpretation of it basically is to tolerate, adapt to, and overcome stress. So when things are getting on top of you from whichever million different sources of stress can come from, it's the ability to stay strong and keep moving forwards rather than crumble, essentially. It's way easier to build your own resilience than minimize the external stresses. External environment is always changing. Things are always happening in the external world. Trying to change the external world and the other people in it, that can be very stressful. It's way more difficult than taking it on yourself and trying to improve your own mindset. That's the only thing that you bring to every situation. It's also the only thing where you always have the capacity to be positive, even though things can get really tough. There's always that capacity to be positive. And you and your mindset is the only thing that can influence that. I figured we'd do a little activity at the start. It's a personality test. There's a QR code here. Apologies if you can't really see it. You can have a look and scan it, or I can take your phone to scan it. It's up to you. So it's just a Big Five personality test. The Big Five model is a statistically derived model. Oh, it needs your thing, sorry. It's a statistically derived model. It was produced with very large samples, cross-culturally, internationally, so it's pretty reliable and it's pretty valid. Split into 5 dimensions of personality. You've got agreeableness, extroversion, openness to experience, neuroticism, and conscientiousness. Why is this useful? Because of a number of reasons, actually. Is it working? Yeah, cool. Sometimes my QR codes don't work. That's good. Why is it important? Once you start to understand yourself and where you lie on these dimensions, some of the virtues and vices which are associated with those positions, you can get a better understanding of yourself, and then managing yourself, overcoming stress and resilience. It also helps you understand other people. So other people are actually a very, very large cause of stress in life. But the more that you can understand your own personality and then how other people might be different in comparison to your personality, you can be a lot more patient with them, more compassionate with them, empathic with them, more understanding of them, and that helps them be less stressful. Job roles, your future job roles, hopefully you're all thinking about what kind of thing you want to do when you're older. Your personality actually ties very deeply into what job role you should go for. So, for example, I was very low in conscientiousness, meaning I'm not very orderly, I'm very creative, and I like to think outside the box. I don't like boxes and restrictions and stuff. I wanted to do marketing and then realized marketing is very much boxes and numbers and maths and modeling and that kind of thing. So given that I'm also high in extroversion, I figured HR, that kind of thing, is going to be way better for me. And where I sit on the agreeableness dimension also makes me more cut out to be my own boss rather than listen to other people, because I'm not very good at that. So once you get a better understanding of your own personality, you might start to see where your current future job role goals are good or bad, and then you can start to reorient them to suit your own personality a bit more. And when you do eventually go into the job, you'll find it more intrinsically meaningful and positive. Another example, for example, you can't have someone who's really high in openness and creativity working as like an accountant or something, because you're just going to find it boring and mind-numbing, essentially. And resilience is pretty tied into neuroticism. That's how much negative experience you seem to experience just generally. So some people are really low in neuroticism and they don't experience much negative emotion. Some people are really high and they do. Obviously, that's tied into resilience. That's not to say that that's a bad thing. There is no right or wrong, good or bad position on any of the spectrums. Even, for example, with neuroticism, you might think, ooh, high in negative emotion, that's not good. But people like that are the ones that, stop bridges falling down and stuff, because if you didn't have those kinds of people, would only have optimists and everyone would be really optimistic and, things wouldn't really work. Well, they'd work, but no one would do risk analysis or anything like that. Yeah, so that's just why it's important. Just take your time to fill it out and then just be honest with it. Don't try and manipulate the results or anything. Get a bit better of an understanding of yourself. And then, yeah, read the results and the little paragraphs and stuff that it gives you. Well, hopefully you find it useful. Hopefully you find it insightful as well and understand yourself a bit better. And then we'll feed back a little bit. How's everyone getting on?
90%.
90%, cool. So once you've filled out all the answers and got your results, just have a quick little look through all the little common bits of commentary that it gives, and you can really kind of see some of the virtues and the vices of whatever position that you're in, but then also someone who sits at the other end of the spectrum on the same dimension. It'll give a little bit about that, and you can probably also identify some virtues and vices within that in the journey of self-improvement, or improving your resilience and stuff. It is useful to see where your strengths lie, where your personality strengths lie, and then also what the strengths of other areas on the dimension are, so you can look at those and try and integrate them into your personality as well. For example, with neuroticism, if you're high in neuroticism and you're not very good at positive thinking, if you start really working on positive thinking, then you can apply positive and negative thinking to situations, which really helps you think critically. Vice versa for low neuroticism. If you're always really happy-go-lucky, you don't consider any risks or anything, you need to start thinking as if you're high neuroticism. So you can be a bit more pessimistic, and your ideas and work and actions and stuff can be a bit more robust. Does that make sense? Yeah, thanks. Just give you a couple more minutes to finish up reading. So a couple have finished and a couple are still working, so it's 2 more minutes. Is anyone still reading? Still reading? All done? Still reading?
On 86%.
Okay, cool.
I'm still on the question. One of the first one.
All right, did anyone find that useful? Or have I just wasted your time? Useful, a few nods, cool. Anyone got anything interesting that they found out about themselves or their life or their future or anything that they want to share? Any interesting insights? No, that's fine. Oh, go on.
I was an introvert and I've come out as an extrovert.
Really?
I'm a little bit shocked.
Interesting. Interesting.
Changed everything.
Yeah. Yeah, that sometimes does happen actually. Because extroversion, it just means you're like interested in people. It doesn't necessarily mean that you always want to be really happy and friendly and stuff, which you are with people. But a lot of time people think, I'm not really interested in making friends and all that stuff, so I'm an introvert, when really they actually are interested in people, and it turns out that way.
That's definitely interesting.
Yeah.
Actually, a lot of my research is around shyness as a personality. It's seen in a negative way a lot of the time,
Yeah.
and actually I think it's got a lot of positive points.
Oh yeah, of course,
Yeah,
of
it's
course.
very interesting to
There's
see that.
there's definitely lots of pros to being an introvert, and there's lots of pros to being an extrovert, and the other way around. I suppose a couple more disclaimers, which I actually forgot to say at the start. A lot of these slides, I do apologise, but I didn't have enough time to completely perfect it and do all the notes and stuff. So a lot of them I'm just going to be shooting from the hip. Hopefully it makes sense. I might wander off track and not come back on track. If I do, I'll just try and recycle and then start making sense again. Sorry if that happens. Another one is most of the stuff on these slides isn't actually my opinion. I'm just like a mouthpiece for people that are way more qualified to talk about this than me. So you might be wondering, like, you know, what gives you the authority to talk to me about resilience and life and these kind of things? Yeah, not really my opinion. So hopefully that's good. Okay, this is the depressing slide. Yeah, we'll go over that at the end. Anyone recognize that? I think, yeah, the yin yang. Cool, it's interesting little thing. So yeah, buckle up, I suppose. Life is suffering. That's a common theme across religious texts, philosophical texts. Yeah, existentialism, Christianity, Buddhism, probably more, but that's just the ones that I know about. Seems pretty self-evident to me, to be honest. Takes me about 5 seconds to come up with 5 different areas in which cause suffering. Suffering and stress are kind of synonymous, you know, so we're talking about resilience and how to overcome stress and be positive in the face of adversity. I've kind of abstracted it a bit more to just do suffering in general because it's still going to be useful. Yeah, it seems pretty self-evident to me that that's true. So the purpose of life is to overcome that, basically, and I will go over that a bit more after I've rattled off some more depressing points. I put this right near the start, by the way, so however many other slides there are after this are more positive and based on how to, you know, overcome some of the depressing stuff that's on here. But I thought it'd be useful to at least set some sort of like theoretical anchor that we can all work from. I've taken a very pessimistic approach on this because advice on resilience is only useful in the worst possible situation. If you're in hell, metaphorically speaking, and I give you advice that you can't apply, then what's the point in me telling you in the context of resilience? So, yeah. Everyone suffers. That's self-evident, I think. Yeah, in whatever way, shape or form, wherever it comes from. I've got a million different things, which I constantly try to manage. If you're in a state of suffering and you're not doing anything about it, that can lead to things like anxiety, depression, and nihilism. Nihilism is basically the idea that life is meaningless, I am worthless, there's no point to anything, and we might as well just not exist. It's not a nice headspace to be in at all. If you get into those states of mind, it leads to fear, bitterness, and resentment. And once you're scared and bitter and hateful towards someone, you will become cruel. That can apply to yourself. If you start getting scared of your own future, your own potential, what's going to happen to you, you start hating other people, or you start hating yourself, thinking that you're worthless and that kind of thing. You've got no future, no prospects, anything like that. You will get cruel towards yourself. If it's directed at someone else, you'll be cruel to other people. This mode of thinking throughout history has been justified by people who then go on to commit atrocities that are scared of people. For example, Hitler was scared of the Jews. Look what happens. It's a terrible, terrible mindset to be in. The longer you're in it, the more it develops, the worse the situation gets. Once you're in that situation where you're hating yourself, other people, existence itself, you're in hell, metaphorically speaking. Heaven and hell are metaphorically places on earth. There's an Oasis lyric, which is, some might say they don't believe in heaven. Try telling that to a man who lives in hell, which is actually true. If you've never seen someone in hell, you haven't been very many places. Just by looking at them, you can feel the aura coming off them. I don't know if you've experienced that, but I certainly have, with other people. I did also have a quick trip, well, not quick trip to hell, when I was about 16 through till 19. And it's not a fun place to be, but there's always two things you can do when you're in that position. You can go up or you can go down. Hell is a bottomless pit. That's an idea from Christianity. I'm not trying to shove any religion on you or anything, but I will be drawing on religious messages and stuff, purely because of the objective message that it displays. I'm not trying to say you should be this or that or this. It's just representing an argument. Also, another disclaimer, I'm not trying to tell you what to believe. I'm hopefully just telling you objective things that you look at and think, oh, that's useful or something. I don't want to try and tell you what to do or not do. Hopefully just find the things I say worth doing or not doing. So yeah, hell's a bottomless pit. No matter what situation that you're in, you can always do something to make it worse. So you've got to be very mindful of when you're in these situations, how could I make this worse? And then don't do it, right? You also got to think, how can I start making this thing better? And there is always at least one thing you can do. Even, so I said, set the bar low enough here, and that basically means set yourself a goal for improvement that is so low and easy that you can do it, and then once you've done it, you feel, okay, one little thing has got better, now let's move on to the next one, and then the next one, and then the next one, and then the next one. You keep doing these small tasks that might make you a little bit better. For example, organising your room. That's a good one, actually, because then you feel good about yourself, and then you can move that into the rest of the world and start organising other things. Don't think that you're above the small, simple, little mundane tasks. I used to think, like, I'm not cleaning my room, like, why would I do that? Like, I'm above that. But clean your room, it's an act of self-kindness and organisation that can really help. It's not as trivial as it sounds. But there's other things as well. If you do ever come into this mindset and this mode of being, just try and figure out at least one tiny little thing that you can do to make the situation better. Even if that's not doing something bad, that's still doing something good. That's how you can start to build yourself up out of the horrible pit that is hell. So Jesus metaphor, that's Jesus. The story of Jesus and getting crucified is basically one idea on how a human being should live to overcome some of the suffering and stresses in life. That basically means accept your own suffering, accept it voluntarily. It's going to happen, it's going to be there. If you externalize it and don't accept it as your own responsibility, you're going to get bitter and resentful towards whatever you believe is making you suffer. Jesus took it all onto himself, took on the suffering of other people as well, so he tried to heal them as well. Took it, the suffering was represented in the form of a cross. He had it upon his back. It was heavy, but despite all of that suffering from himself and for other people, he walked forwards and up the hill, moved forwards, tried to move up. He ended up, he died, whatever. This is all metaphorical. But then he transcended it. He came back better. He came back stronger. He was reborn. The fact that he took on all this suffering and decided to still move forwards with it, even though it was painful and hard, eventually by the end of it, that molded him into a better person, essentially. Might have got a little bit wrong, but that's my interpretation of it. Moral of the story being, the more you take on that stress of yourself and others and accept it and then overcome it, you're going to improve your own personality and your own resilience, the capacity to deal with it. If you just avoid the stress and externalize it, it's going to stay there forever and keep pounding down in on you. But if you take it on and then overcome it and build up your personality and your resilience, those external stresses aren't going to be so stressful. That's linked into Buddhist philosophy as well. That's one that really interests me. In the new year, I'll be taking refuge. It's quite a big thing because of how the Buddhists say, it's not teachings, but it's discourse on how you may want to live your life. The core thing is try and help other people. Even if your own life is going really, really badly and you don't know what to do and you're lost and it hurts and you're scared and all those things, if you help someone else take on their suffering and make it better for them, you're going to feel better about yourself. Like, even if you feel bad, helping someone else makes you feel good. And the core message of Buddhist philosophy is essentially, at least in Mahayana Buddhism, that the goal essentially is enlightenment, and you do that through the dissolution of the self and aiming to alleviate the suffering of all sentient beings. Kind of similar to Jesus, take on everyone else's suffering and make things better for everyone, and you will feel better about yourself. Does that make sense? That was one of those firing from the hip moments where I was kind of winging it. I'm glad that made sense. Elastic bands, that's a rough one, man. Bit of advice I was given off my therapist: instead of cutting yourself, just use an elastic band and ping it off your wrist. It's the same sensation. This is one of those ones where I hope it's not relevant to anyone, but if it is, useful advice. Saves a lot of suffering in the moment and further along down the line. Crying is good. I actually put this bit in here because I thought I'd be in tears by now, but I'm not, so that's good. Well, maybe that's not good, but crying is good, but cry properly. What I mean by cry properly is don't just lose your shit and just break down. Sure, that's good, but use it as a means of releasing energy. If you're crying, it's because you've got something inside you that needs to be expressed and released. I've worked with a Peruvian shaman who taught me that, and then ever since that, if I need to cry, I'll cry, because it's better than just pushing it back down and suppressing all of that emotion. Because, to quote Sigmund Freud, unreleased emotion or buried emotion is basically going to get pushed back down. It's going to keep building, get stronger and stronger, and then it's going to come out when you least expect it or when you least want it to the people that you least want it to. So it's better to just cry in the moment. Think about why you're crying when you are crying. Understand that you are releasing emotion and energy, and that's part of the healing process. and try and put a positive spin on whatever the situation is that you're crying at. It might sound difficult to do that when I'm saying that now, but when you are crying and you try to put a positive spin on things, you'll find that the brain is remarkably good at releasing that energy and then replacing it with more positive things that you can move forward from. So that's what I would say is crying properly, not just like crying, feeling sorry for yourself, meditating on how everything sucks and that you can't do anything, and then stopping crying and just being in a worse situation than you were before. You want to do it so that you release the energy and then try to start building more positive thoughts and emotions and stuff in your head and then move forwards. Life is unbearable and it's better off not being at all. That's the nihilistic mindset, the depressive nihilistic mindset. I've been there. It's really not fun. I spent about 1.5 years in that before realizing things have really got to change. If you ever do feel that way, when things have really got on top of you, you might have 4 or 5 tragedies or instances of malevolence that just really wipe you out and you think, fuck this, I don't want to live anymore. And you think it's unbearable. It's not unbearable if you are alive, because every moment that you experience it, you bear it. Every moment that you bear it, you have the capacity for blue skies thinking. Blue skies thinking is one of the concepts that Headspace is kind of putting me through at the minute, the meditation app. Doesn't matter what position so it doesn't matter what the weather is, right? On any given day, it could be thunderstorms, it could be snowing, it could be really cloudy, it doesn't matter. The blue sky is always there. You just have to find it, or you just have to try and see it. The same counts for states of mind. No matter how bad it is, no matter what's happening, how dark it is, how upsetting it is, how hurtful it is, all this stuff, how stressful it is, you have the ability to change your mindset to be positive in that instance. Now, it's really difficult, especially in a lot of circumstances, it's really difficult to be positive, but it is something that you can nurture through meditation and mindfulness, which I'm going to talk about quite a lot because it's been life-changing for me. Yeah, so even if you think it's absolutely terrible, it's no getting better, and I might as well not be alive, you can overcome that. You bear it in the moment, and you can overcome it through blue skies thinking. This was literally life-saving advice for me. Ending your life does not stop the suffering, it just transfers it and provides it to people who love you the most, even if you can't recognise any of them. Yeah, I feel that. That was like a, oh shit, that's deep. Sorry. But it's true. It is true. It's just something to remember if you do ever get into that situation. Hopefully it's not relevant to any of you, but it was life-saving advice for me, so I figured I'd share it. Everything is impermanent. That's another tenet of Buddhist philosophy. Physical states, psychic states, spiritual states, they're all impermanent. That might sound a bit dark, but it's to me, it's a positive thing. So even if you're in this really dark place, just remember that it will change at some point, and you can have an influence in changing it. And it's up to you to change it, but it will change or end at some point, so it's fine. I didn't think I would be here today in the position that I'm in, in the improved mindset that I'm in. It's still a struggle every day, like stress, resilience, mental health problems, those kind of things are a struggle every day. But you just got to keep going. Keep trying to be positive. Hopefully some of the advice that I give you after this slide is really going to give you an insight into how you can be more positive and in the light of, all this sad stuff that I've mentioned. That's the end of that slide. So, thought I'd put a joke in. Hope people find that funny. Otherwise, that's really awkward. Yeah, so that's my favorite meme. And memes are actually good for resilience, this is one of the things that isn't a part of this presentation that isn't backed by science. It's kind of my opinion, but wholesome, silly, just like, non-political memes, just ones that are just like a stupid little pun like that just make you smirk to yourself, or, like exhale slightly louder out your nostrils. They're good for you. So my Instagram is pretty much just dog memes, and my friends and some interesting pages and stuff. And it actually really helps when I'm feeling really down. I'll just have a little scroll on Instagram. Make sure I don't go on it for too long because you get lost. Just look at some good memes, man, if you're feeling down. And at least it will give you a little bit of silly joy, a little bit of happiness, a little bit of humor. It makes all the difference, especially if you're not in a very good place. Opening up. Okay, I had to do this quite quickly, just on the back of a conversation that I had with Angela yesterday, just about how tough it is for people to actually open up about the suffering and the problems and the stress and lack of resilience and that kind of stuff that people go through. It's really hard to open up about. Obviously, I'm quite open about it now because I've been there, done that, got the t-shirt. But back in the day, it took me about a year and one not so good moment that eventually I realized, like, okay, I've actually got to tell someone about this. I need to open up about it. And then as soon as I did that, things started getting better. As soon as I opened up, things started getting better. Piece of advice number one, find a professional. Like, there are people whose job it literally is to make you feel better, help you put together a life that would work for you, that you find positively meaningful, that alleviates a lot of the suffering. So talk to them. There's a few signposts for places where there are professionals operating. So if you are feeling like you need some help, even if you're feeling like you don't need help, but something's really wrong, you know that something's really wrong, you should try and find a professional. So there's the Samaritans. I think they run a crisis line as well. Talking Matters, who I did mine through, they're a public service. There's crisis lines. There's loads of those that run 24-hour lines. If you ever wake up in the middle of the night, or you don't go to sleep in the middle of the night, actually, that's more common, and you're just really feeling like awful, there are crisis lines that you can ring, and it's just an anonymous person on the end of the phone that you can just sit and rant to, and better than some of the alternatives. They're really helpful. So that's advice number one. Find a professional. Bit of a queue at the moment. My mum's a psychotherapist, and there is a bit of a queue at the moment. I know there is in uni as well. Forgot to mention, uni have got a whole range of counselling services, things that you can get one-to-one counselling and that kind of thing. But there's also, they've got loads of self-help materials and stuff as well that look really useful, actually. So that's another one you can look towards as well as the uni. A bit of advice on professionals, actually. It might feel weird to you to think, I'm going to go see someone that I don't know at all and tell them all my problems. I feel like I'm oversharing and it would be weird and stuff. That was my approach to it before I went. But if you do think like that, trust me, once you get there, it's actually better in a lot of ways to go and see a professional that you don't know, who doesn't have any sort of emotional relationship to you, not like a family or a friend or anything like that, because it's like dealing with sadness professionally, because it's a professional relationship, and it's just easier. You go in, you tell them everything, you leave, and everything stays in that room with the therapist. So you don't have to deal with your friends and your family like telling each other or, changing their opinion of you, those kind of things. So yeah, if you're hesitant to find a professional for that reason, it's in the moment, it actually feels quite different, at least in my experience, and it was really, really beneficial. And both my therapists were absolutely lovely, and that's probably a commonality across therapists and professionals to help with your resilience. They're all really nice, really warm, really welcoming, and they're really, really useful. So if you can't find a professional because there's a queue or whatever, you don't want to do it, hopefully there's at least one person in your life that you can trust cares for you genuinely. Hopefully at least one, yeah. And you can just sit it takes a lot of courage to say to someone that things aren't right. It's really hard, but it's only a couple of words. You just got to find that one person who really does care for you, that you can trust cares for you, and just say, look, I'm not well. Things aren't right. I'm not well isn't just like a physical thing. I'm not well can definitely be applied to state of mind and stuff. So if you've got a good caring friend, just say, look, I need you to just sit and listen, please. And yeah, if you can just sit and rant off a friend, man, that helps sometimes. It can help you even articulate your own thoughts. So sometimes you don't even know what the problem is. That's why speaking to someone really, really helps. If you just have this kind of weight that you can feel, and you know it's not good, it's not pleasant, you know it's not good, but you can't figure out what's actually causing it, speaking really helps. Yeah, you just got to make that leap and actually open up. It's hard. Yeah, sometimes symptoms of problems display themselves as the problem itself. So if you've got a problem in life, it might not be what it appears to be. It might stem from somewhere completely different, which is why when you've got problems, or if you're listening to someone who is telling you problems, you need to ask why. Keep asking why do you think that? Where's that coming from? And that can help figure out where the root cause of what the root cause of the problem actually is. So I've got here, for example, I might get really stressed because of an assignment, right? That's relatable, surely. You might think it's the assignment that's stressing me out. But if you keep asking why is it the assignment, or why am I feeling stressed? Why? You might eventually come around to the conclusion, for example, that it's actually because you haven't been eating properly for the last few days. You've got no energy, all those things, and your brain isn't working properly to be able to focus on the assignment. Now, if you just thought it was the assignment, you wouldn't be able to fix that problem of that you don't have any energy from your diet, which is why you've got to keep asking why. If you try and solve the assignment, you're not actually going to get rid of the root cause of problems. So yeah, if you've got a problem or a source of stress, you need to really thoroughly investigate it and try and figure out, is that the root cause or is there something behind that? I've already covered that. Opening up only takes a few words, but it is really, really hard. That's just why you've got to find someone that you really trust, a friend, a family member, a professional, and then you open up and your life will get better. People would rather help you than not be involved at all. Part of the if you're really in a bad place, really stressed, really suffering, no resilience to overcome it, you can believe that you are a burden. You don't want to reach out. You don't want to talk to anyone because you think you're just a burden on people. Why would they? Well, you just joined at the fun bit, so good. Yeah, it is a common mindset that you think you're a burden. You're not. People would rather help you than not know at all. That was definitely the case with my family. I thought, I'm a burden if I tell them blah, blah, blah. Once I eventually opened up, they were just like, I wish you'd told us sooner, and now I'm here for you, and we just want to do our best to help you. People value your existence and your well-being, even if it doesn't seem like it or you don't value it yourself. There will be at least one person. Just got to try and find them and then work through things with them, and hopefully they just listen and be respectful. So I've got some advice as well. It's really difficult to open up to people, and that is partly because you're not sure how other people are going to react or how they're going to deal with you. But some people straight up just aren't very good at dealing with it. When someone says something like, I'm not feeling mentally well to them, they're just like, oh, I don't know what to do, or they don't take it seriously, blah, blah, blah. So just some words of advice as a recipient. Acknowledge people's feelings and situations. Like, even if you think it's unreasonable or something, or like, why are you getting stressed about that for? Like, come on. Just acknowledge their feelings and their situations. Don't try and one-up them. Say, oh, I'm feeling sad because of this. Don't be like, oh yeah, well, I'm feeling even more sad because of all of this. Like, if you're in a conversation where you're trying to help each other overcome stress and problems and stuff, you can obviously share the stuff that you're going through and hopefully help each other, but don't try and make it seem that someone's stresses and worries and feelings that are really impacting on them and hurting them. Don't make them feel like it's not even legit. Be truthful and kind. Yeah, that's truth heals. Sometimes the truth is really sharp though, so you've got to be kind. Yeah, if their loved ones or a professional doesn't know, so if they're dealing with all this stuff by themselves and they don't want to tell anyone, and you think, oh, maybe I should tell someone on their behalf, I would probably say don't do that. It's quite a hard call to make, but one way that won't ever backfire on you, probably, is try and help them understand that what they're going through needs help, or they need to open up, or they need some sort of change. Get them to come to terms with it and get them to open up and release it on their own terms. And that's part of their healing journey already. Rather than doing it for them, it might backfire. If they do it themselves, they're already in that process of understanding that things need to improve. So they've already taken the first steps. Yeah. If someone is telling you really unhealthy thoughts, you can just question them. These seem a little bit patronizing on paper, but you need to be sincere and kind about it. So if someone's saying something really bad about themselves, how they're a worthless piece of whatever, no potential, no nothing, and they're just completely useless, you can just say, well, can you elaborate on that? Why do you think that? Have you got any evidence to support that mode of thinking, or is it just something that you thought up and convinced yourself is true? Sometimes they might try and justify it, and you just got to listen and hear what they've got to say, and then just try and converse with them or get them to expand on it. And then you can ask, well, is there any other ways of thinking about this? Is there any positive ways, even if you don't believe them, is there any other positive ways of thinking about these situations or these stresses and stuff? Basically that's just to try and get them to think through really what they're actually saying and believing about themselves. This is part of cognitive behavioral therapy, is when you're thinking, you catch thoughts mid-stream and then question them to see if they're actually justified. A lot of the time they're not. So my therapist used to always say to me, well, why do you believe that? And is there actually any evidence to support that? And then I'd think it through and I'd be like, well, no, actually. She said, well, why are you thinking it? I don't know. And then gone. Don't think like that anymore. Well, do sometimes, but it's a lot easier to handle it. Cool. Social anxiety. This is another area of stress that a lot of people suffer with, especially after the pandemic. Mental health crisis has absolutely skyrocketed in the pandemic, and social anxiety is one of the top ones because we've been locked away from each other for so long. This is also another one which I quickly put in, so I'm not actually too knowledgeable on this one, to be honest. But here's some advice. If you're in a social situation and you start feeling like you're internalizing, like, oh, what am I going to say next? Or I'm getting anxious, or what do I need to say to make them, like me, or blah, 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 or I'm nervous, those kind of things. Just try and pay attention to the other person. Take that internal focus off yourself. Just try and pay attention to the other person and just listen to them. And then it means you're not thinking about yourself and being anxious, and you're also paying attention to what the other person's saying so that you can listen and, continue whatever social situation you're in. Listening is verbal and non-verbal. So obviously verbal, listen to what they're saying, take it in, and then, try and expand on that, but also listen to non-verbal communications, body language, facial expression, eye contact, those kind of things. There's a lot of subtle cues that are given that can really provide insight into what someone means or how they're feeling or what they're trying to say and stuff that you should try and pick up on as well. Listen verbally and non-verbally. Once you start doing that and you've got all your focus on them, what they're saying, how they're acting, how they're being, you forget about yourself, and it also helps you just carry on the social situation with them. How did that make you feel is sometimes a good way to deepen and expand conversations, obviously if relevant. Like, you can't just say that out of the blue because it might be a bit weird, but if it's relevant, that's a really good way to deepen conversation, because then you start talking about feelings and emotions and those kind of things rather than just objective reality or whatever. You get better through practice. Hello. If you find that you do struggle socially, the best thing to do is just practice, literally, deliberately do social things, even if it might be a bit uncomfortable. It does help. And then MMU has loads of different like public speaking workshops and stuff, which are really, really helpful. Carbon literacy trainer as well, that'll definitely help with your social skills. I've done a lot of the public speaking stuff in MMU and some stuff external to MMU as well, and I'm a carbon literacy trainer, so I used to be really anxious, especially socially. And so I decided I've got to overcome this. I've got to get better at speaking in front of people. So if you had me 2 years in this position with like however many people, some listening, some not, it's quite intimidating, but I feel all right. But 2 years ago, I'd just crumble and just be like probably in like a fetal position on the floor, just like rocking because it was so scary. So yeah, exposing yourself to these kind of things will make you better. There are just some links that I've got in the references at the end. There's a YouTube channel called Charisma University, which kind of helps with social skills. Jordan B. Peterson, who I will name drop quite a bit, is good for social anxiety, and meditation helps as well. Now, assertiveness is, again, something that I just quickly put in. One of the reasons you can be stressed in life is because other people are trying to manipulate you for their own benefit. That is not a very nice truth, but it's true. There are people that will try and manipulate you for their own benefit. Being able to say no and mean it really helps. Very difficult. By saying no and meaning it, I mean saying no, and if they continue doing it, you are able to inflict some sort of consequence that they do not like. It doesn't have to be physical or anything like that. It can just means that you're actually able to put up a fight, stand your ground, and not be walked all over. That's part of assertiveness. That's part of the agreeableness personality trait, I think. So if you're highly agreeable, chances are you're going to be serving other people and like taking on their needs and stuff and doing things for them, but oftentimes at your own expense. And if you encounter a psychopath or someone who understands that you're really agreeable and wants to take advantage of it, they will try to, and it's easier if you're more agreeable because you just want to help them. That's where assertiveness training and integration of the shadow, which is a Jungian concept, is really, really useful. You need to learn how to say no and mean it, basically, so that you can negotiate for yourself. This is going to be really important advice, actually, as well for client negotiations, expectation management, that kind of thing in your consultancy. Obviously, you need to be nice to the client and compassionate and understand their needs and problems and try and cater to that. But let's say your client keeps saying, well, can you just do this as well? Can you just do this as well? How about a little bit more on this, a little bit more on that? If you can't say no, they're just going to run all over you and you're going to get extra stressed, not going to be able to deal with the stress as well. I know I haven't really gone into depth very much. I've just kind of outlined the importance of something like this. If you want to learn more about it, Jordan B. Peterson, look into assertiveness training and the integration of the shadow. The shadow is basically the side of you that you don't want to admit exists. Once you fully integrate that into your personality, you can use it productively to say no to people and mean it. Don't let people walk all over you. Okay, cool. This is starting to get a bit more positive now. That's good. Started off a bit sad and depressing and all that, but this is really good. Obviously, I spoke about how life is tough. So you need a why. When you wake up in the morning, you need a why am I going to get out of bed and do something? Why am I going to do that? That basically gives you the purpose in life, is understanding your why you're doing things. You need a noble purpose to work towards, to overcome it. So my purpose is to alleviate the suffering of all sentient beings and foster the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal progression. That is a mixture of so I practice as a Buddhist, but I'm not officially a Buddhist yet, so I don't claim to be a Buddhist. But that's basically the core of Buddhism, like I already mentioned earlier. And then foster the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal progression. That is what I'm orienting my whole career around. And it's tied into helping other people with sustainable development. And I understand that as long as I'm working towards that goal, I'm living a good life. I feel good in myself, helping other people. So my purpose is essentially to help other people. And so when I wake up in the morning, if I'm thinking, oh, can't be bothered, life's not good, I'm not in a good mood, I feel sad, all those things. Why am I doing what I'm doing? Why am I getting out of bed? Oh yeah, for that, I've got to get up, get going, because I've got things to do. Yeah, set and work towards meaningful goals across all the dimensions of your life, which are good for you and other people. And that should hopefully give you enough purpose in life so that you wake up in the morning and you actually do want to get out of bed and do stuff, help people. Don't have to. You don't have to do that if you don't want, but it's just an idea for maybe where you might want to start if you haven't found your purpose. We're not on the activity yet. I'm going to give you a little activity soon, so I shut up and you can have a little break from my voice. How do you find your purpose? Yeah. We're starting to get to a point now where there's not such a linear logical progression, so we can just cut for 5 minutes and let everyone have a little chance.
We normally have a break about halfway through anyway.
Cool, let's do it after this slide. Yeah, okay, we'll do it after this slide. Yeah, how do you find your purpose? I don't know, has anyone already got a purpose that they can like identify with and actually articulate? No? Okay, good, that's fine, because we're gonna try and work on this and come up with something for you all independently. But if you don't know where to find your purpose or how to find it or where you're going, just start somewhere, anywhere, like literally just have a go at something. Figure out, what do you love doing? Are you any good at it? What does the world need? Will someone pay you for it? Write down all the things that you can think of, just slot into here, and then just have a go. Try it. If you don't like it, change it. If you do like it, keep doing it. Easy. Future authoring program. That's a really useful little document that will help you figure out what you want to do with your life and how you're going to get there. I'll mention that later. It's all right if you don't have your purpose yet. Imagine everyone here is like, what? Well, young, definitely. So if you don't have an idea, that's fine. If you're starting to put together an idea, try and keep it a little bit fuzzy or flexible, so you've just got some sort of goal to work towards, or some purpose to work with, and then just go with the flow, see what happens, see how it changes, see how it improves, see how it affects you. We're all uni students. I appreciate that people have extracurricular responsibilities, jobs, families, those kind of things, but we've got an awful lot of spare time when we're at uni. So just experiment, try and find things out. The uni system, Rise, has got absolutely loads of stuff on there. It's really interesting, really inspiring, really a really diverse range of different things. Just have a look on Rise and see if anything twists your arm, and then have a go. See what you think. It might lead somewhere nice. Carbon literacy trainer as well. I did that and figured, okay, this is what I should be doing generally, life, career. Consultancy, United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, that kind of stuff, one area of my career. Another will be the carbon literacy stuff as well. So I would highly recommend becoming a carbon literacy trainer. If you don't know what you're doing or why you're doing it or what you want to do, you might as well do that and see if that ticks a box. I wanted to be a vet before I came to uni, but because of my problems in A-levels, I didn't get the grades. So I came to business. I wanted to set up animal, shelters, kennels, vets, that kind of thing, until I did the carbon literacy training and then realised that's what I should do. That's my purpose, is to be an educator and to help other people. And then, hopefully once I'm really rich, I'll donate most of that away, and also to animal shelters and kennels and stuff. I'll build that later. We'll stop there for a second, because we're going on to an activity next. Chill out, do what you want, go get some food, get a coffee. We'll come back soon. Ask me any questions if you've got any. Huh? A long time ago.
I have to do a meeting first.
No, it's fine. I'm recording on here.
You're recording yourself as well, just the screen?
Just the screen, I think.
So why are you not bringing this?
Because that would have been better.
Well, you can record the rest of yourself with this.
Huh?
You can record the rest of yourself with that while you present. From an angle.
Nah, because I've missed the start, haven't I?
Yeah, do it from the continuous.
Did you bring the camera?
Yeah, I did. But I had to go to my meeting first. I forgot I had it.
Free coffee, by the way.
Do you have one free?
Work has given me a lunch money. If I don't spend it, I lose it.
Oh, yeah,
Quite
good.
anxious to get on with their.
Just come with me.
Can I get it after class though? Because I just got one.
Okay, that's fine.
I need to go after class because I have to drive back to my
How are we
parents.
doing time-wise, do you think? I mean,
Lewis.
I'm learning.
Do you want one?
Yeah, for many personal
I will
reasons.
speed up. These bits that I've been over are the most content heavy. Although there's some. Can I freeze that? Just this. Doesn't matter. We'll just show you anyway. So this is just a quick activity that we're going to do that I've just mentioned, just so people can try and figure out some sort of goal for their life that goes beyond just money, find a purpose. I'll skip this one. Then just a little goal setting activity. And then managing workload.
About another 20 minutes, would that be all right? Because they really do have to do some of the group stuff as well.
I'll skip this. Skip that. Routine, I need to talk about that because that's really important. And there's another little activity on there, on the bottom. I could sim it down to half an hour easy. I could skip that. Well, no, I'd tell that in 2 seconds. And tell that in 2 seconds. Tell that in 2 seconds. Tell that in 2 seconds. And then this is the last bit. Essentially, this is just mindset, mindfulness. Download the app. We're done.
All right, no, that would be great. Yeah. Say it's the last session.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That completely slipped my mind. So
I didn't know.
so long. Yeah, neither did I, to be honest.
I know you've got lots to share in it. It's just so.
Yeah, but obviously they're going to be more concerned with the deadline, not learning something that doesn't happen.
Yeah. Because one of the topics can be is stress and resilience, but that's obviously more to do with drawing their project. So
Yeah.
also take it inside.
Yeah,
I mean, this is great on a personal level.
It's about 2.5 years of learning.
Oh,
Just finally being able to actually articulate it.
tidying your room. I mean, without going into details, it resonates a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, it's useful. It's just a compilation of things that I find useful, really, to stop me, really to try and manage my mental health as best as possible and my stress resilience as best as possible. There's some of these I'll just skip through.
Just gonna grab my water.
No, I'm just gonna like the other side. I'm just gonna like I'm just down.
I suppose I'll start linking it back to the assignment as well now, I guess. In relation to the project. How long is this session? Is it only 2 hours?
It's 3 hours.
Right.
Yeah, but we need it. Ideally about an hour and a half a session for this.
Right.
We normally have half a session of, input and then half.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. I'll once we come back, I'll just give them a quick right. We're going to fly through this so that you can do the project at the end. Please try and maintain focus.
Frame it. It's really good advice now. So you've explained the background. Now it's like.
Yeah, that's fine. That's good. Hopefully, got a bit more
They
focus.
know that they can contact you as well.
Yeah, it's just intimidating, I think, isn't it? Like, no one, I'm good friends with a lot of people in here, but some of them would just look at me and be like, I don't want to talk to him and tell him my troubles and stuff. But I'll also say that at the end, I'll just say, like, look, like,
Just if things resonate, I think it's just useful maybe to be honest,
yeah,
someone who understands them.
yeah, I'll say that at the end as well. Just be like, look, part of my philosophy is helping other people. So if you've ever got a problem, just message me and I'll be more than happy to help. And then I'll good. Good.
Yeah. I can't like absolutely. I'll try. Oh yeah. Once again, it's like we give our whole idea, and then we somehow want to make it forever. I think
How are we? Do we want to start working on projects? Getting advice? Not you guys.
I think some of us, I mean, I'm probably not going to use this anymore. I think quite a few of the people are thinking about it.
I'm going to go over some stuff now that you can probably put into topics. Mindfulness, meditation, those kinds of things. We're going to do a bit goal setting as well, but I'm going to try and fly through it. Not try and fly through it, and then. This is mine. I'll send it in.
Is that all right?
I'm recording it as well, so I'll put a copy of it in the chat. Yeah, that's fine. A couple of people have come in late.
Yeah, send it.
I'll put it in the chat, and I'm also going to put it on YouTube, I think.
Yeah.
As I mentioned, in case someone finds it. But yeah, don't worry about that. And technically, I don't really. No, not now. So I'm going to try and go through this as much as possible and get back to the essay where relevant. But then you guys need to work on it. You need to work on the project, so I'm just going to try and go through it. And at the end, I'll be like, right, project I suppose I'll stay around as well. So, how's it going?
We're in different groups. Working. And then no, that's not. What are you showing?
Have you spoken about this?
I swear I said 3 years and then once I just can't. I was working at home.
Well, I mean, that's not really what I'm going to change. Yeah, they need a pass or something for the next 6 weeks at least. You try and bargain it out with Rebecca. Unless it's one that should remove it. It's right there.
We are.
Even though it's
We like getting a lot of
we don't keep going on.
Alright, guys.
I'll try, yeah, I'll try. Yeah, cool. So I'm going to try and go through this as fast as possible, while still making it worthwhile. And then, as Rebecca said, you'll start working on whatever you've got to do, and I'll stick around and help you with that as well if you want. So we've got a quick activity. This is basically, you don't want to set your goals and your purpose in life just to be oriented around money. So a quick way to figure out something that you can do as a career in your life that isn't just about the money. Answer those 4 questions. You've got like 2-3 minutes. That's all right. So, from a career, does this make sense? All know what we're doing? Yeah? Is this all right?
Yeah, it's all. Yeah.
Just quickly write it down, just get a Word document up and just quickly write it down. It's important to actually write these down. The process of writing makes you articulate things better. Once you write it down, it's meant more in your brain.
Last season,
You all okay?
What are you good at? Drinking. Oh, I'm drinking my Cola. What's the wrong thing? Less cars driving. What do you get realised? You pay to get less cars. By drink driving. Oh my god. Send it on.
Okay, so we've got to move quickly. So you can do this if you haven't already done it, I would recommend doing it, but there's loads more to be done as well. So I'm going to move on. The purpose of doing this basically is to figure out in life what you want to aim towards and what you'll find positively meaningful other than just money, because money doesn't make you happy after you've paid the bills. That's actually backed by science. And writing it down is better than just thinking about it. I can't remember why, but it is, and that's also science. I haven't been able to reference everything in here because it would take me another week. But yeah, if you do all of these things at some point, you'll probably figure out that there's something worth working towards, and writing it down cements it. I think we're just really going to skip this, to be honest. The law of attraction is basically you can will things into existence. I came to uni I didn't do any open days. I didn't really look into anything. My mum was really annoyed at me for doing this, but I just went, Mum, it'll be sound, don't worry, I'll make it work. And now I got invited onto M Business after first year. I did my carbon literacy trainer training, and then I saw the chair role in level 6 for M1, and I thought, I want all of these things. I want to do all of these things, and I'm going to make it happen. Now I'm a carbon literacy trainer. I do my stuff here for M1. I run MCC with the help of my wonderful team, and yeah, I made it happen because I decided I was going to make it happen. Goal setting, another quick activity. It's really important to have goals, because if you don't have goals, you can't orient yourself, you can't orient your perception. You literally just get lost, and then once you're lost, mental health suffers. So it's important to have a goal to work towards, moving towards a valued goal, moving up the social system. For example, if you're in a job, you don't just want to stay in the beginner role, do you? You want to move up, you want to try and progress, learn, get more skills, all those kind of things. So it's important to have goals that you can move towards to remain happy. It's tied into your dopamine system, which is inherently linked to happiness and positive meaning. All you can do with goals is the best you can do every day. So once you set them, then you try and figure out, what can I do every day? As long as you do your best every day, that's all you can do. So can't beat yourself up if all you do is your best every day. We're going to do a quick activity again. Yeah, we'll do this now quickly. So on whatever you're writing or typing on, I want you to create a subheading for leisure, a subheading for social, a subheading for family, a subheading for career. I want you to split each of those dimensions into the good and the bad. I'll give you 30 seconds to do that. It's really important to write it down, because, as I say, for some reason, writing things down is way more productive than thinking it. It actually seeps more into your being and your ambitions and stuff. So once we've written down the dimensions and the good and the bad, just spend 30 seconds on each section thinking about your ideal leisure life. So how much leisure time you have on a daily basis, what you do for those leisure times rather than working. This is all about work-life balance. You need to have that balance. Think about it on a really idealistic level, so that you've got something to aim towards. Picture it on a really bad level. So, for example, my hell of leisure would be no leisure time at all, work 12 hours a day, every day. That's something to run away from, right? So when you're setting goals, make the ideal future to aim towards, make the really not so good future to run away from, and then you get set up on an upward trajectory. Writing is part of a big part of that. So leisure, I've explained. Social, that's your friends and stuff. What kind of friendships do you want? How many friends do you want? You know, do you want loads of friends, or do you want a few very good friends? How often do you need to see them? How often do you want to see them? Family. What do you want your family relationships to be like now with your existing family? Also, what do you want your family to be like in the future with your partner and kids, maybe? Obviously, picture that in idealistic circumstances, but then also, how would that be the worst possible scenario so you can run away from it? And then career, you know, I've got a goal for my career where I want to be at a certain point, but I also know where I really don't want to be, which is, I don't know, I'm not going to say anything because I might be patronising, but I'm sure you can all figure out exactly where you don't want to be in your career. Cleaning public toilets, that's probably a good one that you don't want to be in when you're 40 as a career. I mean, some people might, but, you know, just an example. So, yeah, we'll just spend a couple of minutes on this. Again, if we don't get it done because we'll have to move on, you can always revisit this and do it in your own time. It might seem a little bit trivial or mundane, but once you write about this and actually articulate it fully in your head, where you want to be, where you don't want to be, you will go on an upward trajectory. That's just how it works. we okay? We all okay?
Yeah.
I knew a few people would be like that. Good if you're in that position.
You've already said that plenty of times.
So, because it was stuff where like, it was relevant in really bad situations. You're bridging the issue there. Okay, so,
No, that's not me.
I guess it is a lot of the time, but yeah, just like, that's what I want to do. The whole thing.
I have a friend who's got some. Posted on her accounts. Got posted already. This is the house.
We okay?
Yeah.
We're doing it. People are progressing. Okay, I think we're going to have to move on from here just because of the time restraints. Chris. Thanks. Lads in the corner. Lads, we're going to move on now just because of the time restraints. So you can revisit this if you haven't finished it. I would highly recommend that you do this activity. It'll take you 5 minutes if you haven't already done it, and it'll set you up for the rest of your life. And I'm not overstating. I'm not overstating. I did it a few years ago, and it was unbelievably useful. Just a couple more things to bear in mind about goal setting is set them over quite a long time, but then work back so you've actually got an action plan to work towards that you can progress through. I didn't actually mention it on here, but there's smarter goal settings, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic time phase. That's a good way to break them down. You can do that in your own time. My dad used to run a big automation robotics manufacturing company, and he basically said when things are really stressful, stuff really starts to hit the fan, plans down to the hour. Now, I don't really think you should do that unless unless shit really hits the fan. But it's just to show that the more intense things get, the more you have to narrow down your time frame. Things are really stressful, assignments are really stressful, uni life is really stressful. There's no point thinking about graduation. Like, you need to take it day by day, do the most that you can day by day towards your goals. Once the stress and stuff starts to die down a bit, then you can start expanding back out to, okay, well, where do I want to be in a month, a year, 5 years, those kind of things. Once you start working on a goal, once you start moving towards a goal, whatever that is, you take baby steps to get in the process. Once you get into that, you'll be stepping, and then you'll start walking, then striding, running, compound interest. The more you work on things, especially if it's a little bit every day, you get compound interest, things accelerate. That's tied into Matthew's principle, which is an economic law. It's basically tied into a biblical verse, which is, for those who have everything, more shall be given. For those who have nothing, everything will be taken, something like that. The idea is, as soon as things start getting better, they accelerate. As soon as things get worse, they start to accelerate as well. But if you're aiming at the highest good goals and you start making progress towards them, that progress will start to compound. And you work on a goal 5 minutes a day. Once you've done 365 days, you will be in so far along the line that it would have been unimaginable at the start of the journey. Managing workload. Okay, so for me in third year, I had a part-time job, 2 volunteering jobs, Mandarin classes, a puppy who had a broken spine, financial problems and mental health difficulties. So obviously we all have our own problems in uni and stuff, but I would say I had a lot on my plate. So what did I do to manage my workload? I found my limits by breaking them, for starters. I worked as hard as I could on all of these different things to figure out just how much I could actually tolerate. Block 3, I burnt out. It was not nice at all. Block 4, I managed to get my way through it, finished third year. Now that I've started this year, I'm doing my master's, chair and CEO of NCC, carbon literacy trainer, and some family issues. I had shoulder reconstruction at the start of the summer, which I'm still recovering from. And yeah, so again, well, mental health is literally an ongoing struggle, so probably shouldn't have mentioned that twice, but whatever. Again, quite a lot on my plate this year. Given in third year, when I was in the position that you're in, because I had worked so hard voluntarily and broke my boundaries, this year I know exactly where my boundaries are. So when I'm working, when I'm doing anything, I can feel when I start to get too stressed. And I'm like, right, okay, doesn't matter what it is, stop, do something to minimize your stress, recuperate, rest, recuperate. And that means now the zone of proximal development is the zone, right? You know when you're in the zone because you lose track of time, you're productive, you're loving what you do, and it feels good. I basically live in that zone now, roughly speaking, because I understand where my limits are. So I can work really hard, and then rest, and then go back to work and still be at that maximal productivity, rather than being at like a little bit higher productivity, but unsustainably. If you apply yourself this year, work really hard, take on lots of responsibility, might be a bit grim in the short term, but when it comes, well, firstly, this year has been made a lot less stressful for me because I did well last year. So I've got the safety cushion of the grades. I don't have to worry about grades so much this year because I did that much last year. If you do that this year, you're going to figure out how much you can work for next year. You're going to get a good grade for next year. Next year is going to be a lot less difficult. It is a big step up, but you can prepare for that. Managing workload. Okay, workload upon graduation. I mean, you're all going to go into pretty good jobs, I would imagine. You're all high potential students. That's kind of why we're in M business. So chances are that's probably going to be hard work as well. It's not going to be a DOS. So you need to kind of condition yourself and prepare yourself for that. If you're only working 3 or 4 hours a day currently, when you go into a job and you're expected to work 10 hours, high pressure, high standards, high expectations, it's going to be a bit of a shock. The more you can set yourself up for that here and bear the not very niceness of it, the better you'll be for graduation, basically. So how to manage workload, follow a routine and a schedule. I'll cover those a bit more later. I'll cover the advice as well. At least if you make a routine and a schedule, which we will, it's not a prison. You don't have to stick to it all the time. Stick to it as much as you can. If you can only make 50% of it, next week try 51%. Next week after that, try 52%. That'll compound and eventually you'll be up into the 80s, 90s, 100s for sticking to your routine and your schedule. Routine is good for resilience. It helps regulate all sorts of different things in your body and your brain. So it's good to have a morning and evening routine. And if you're setting up a schedule, it's not what do I need to do, it's what can I do so that this day can be enjoyable and also leaves me in a better position. You have to negotiate with yourself rather than tell yourself. You have to ask yourself, how could this be good? Okay, moving on. Meditation. I meditate every morning and every evening. Headspace Pro, life-changing, unbelievable. It's really good for dealing with resilience. It also means I start and end the day with a bit of order. So no matter what happens in the middle, I can always start and end the day, and it's a bit of familiarity and stuff. Exercise and yoga, do that every day. It's good for your brain, it's good for your body, it's good for focus, it's good for confidence, it's good for all sorts of different stuff. You should do it. Procrastination, how not to procrastinate. My stepsister once told me, I was whinging about some work that I had to do. It wasn't inspiring, I didn't want to do it. It was after I'd burnt out. She said, if you've got frogs to eat in the day, work to complete that you don't want to do, if you leave them the whole day, they're just going to get bigger. And if you don't eat them by the end of the day, tomorrow they're going to be even bigger. So you might as well just eat them in the morning. As soon as you wake up, do the stuff that you don't want to do the most that day, get it out the way, and then the day is a lot better. You've got that main stressor out of the way in the morning, and then you can do whatever else after. So yeah, eat your frogs in the morning. Don't know why it stuck with me, but it did. Snooze, if you press the snooze on your alarm clock, lots of times that will actually go into your decision making in life. I've got to do something, snooze, never mind, I'll do it later. That mindset with pressing the snooze on your alarm clock does apply to other situations. So normally I wake up, don't press snooze, I'll do what's called positive affirmations, which is where you tell yourself, even if you don't believe it. Mine is, I'm really excited to get up today, work and help other people. Sometimes I don't believe that. I'm not excited at all. But I tell myself that enough in my head, eventually I'll get up and actually do stuff. Then I'll go meditate and then I'll do my exercise, yoga, blah, 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 start work. 2-minute rule, if you don't want to do something, just do it for 2 minutes. See how it goes. If by the end of the 2 minutes you don't want to do it, don't do it. Most of the time you'll figure, okay, I've got 2 minutes in, might as well just keep doing it. Pomodoro, look that up in your own time, that's good. That's basically 25 minutes on, 5-minute rest, 25 minutes on, 5-minute rest. Over the course of 6 hours, you've worked for 5.5 hours, you've rested for half an hour, but it's really good for productivity in those 25-minute bursts. Phones, put your phone in another room, simple. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 action. If you don't want to do something, just go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and then do it. Don't think about it, just do it. Breathe, recalibrate, deliver is what BRD stands for. If you find yourself in a stressful situation, breathe, big, deep breath in through your nose, hold it. Your whole brain will rewire itself. It's really quite fascinating when you do it. Recalibrate and then take action, deliver. Purpose, just do something that you love. That links back to not working for money. Do something that you love and you'll find it's a lot easier to manage the workload because you'll be thinking, I actually want to do this, or like you'll understand why you're doing it. So yeah, make sure you've got adequate leisure time as well. Managing workload isn't just about being super productive. It's actually about as well what you do when you're not productive so that you can recuperate enough so that you're at maximal productivity when you start working again. Yeah, that's just some of my leisure time. I've got a few hobbies. I like to exercise, that kind of thing. I like to see my friends and family. I like to go to the pub and get lit. And I like to be in nature. I like dogs as well. Dogs are a good one. I'm going to skip this slide, but thanks. I hope people agree.
Especially, lots of people managing work,
yeah.
Projects, and stuff. So yeah.
So there's a lot that can be taken if you are doing resilience and stuff in context, as Rebecca said.
And you might be able to, if you are choosing stress and resilience, you might be able to weave some of that in, find some theory that supports it, and then weave that into what you're writing about.
Yeah, the theory is out there as well. I haven't cited it because it's like 2.5 years in the process and I struggle to find it all, but it is out there. Basically, it's good to have ambitions and goals and stuff, but one of the tenets of Buddhist philosophy is if you attach something and you desire it, if you want to move, if you desire something good or you want to run away from something that's bad, you're setting yourself up to suffer. So you want to try and detach from as much stuff as possible. That doesn't mean you have to give it up. It just means if it doesn't happen, that's fine. If it changes, that's fine. Yeah, just a quick question. What happens if you fail your degree? Some of you might be really anxious about failing, but really at the end of the day, you just move on, don't you? You just go and get a job. You be an entrepreneur, like go find something that you love doing. It's not, the world isn't going to stop because you fail your degree or something, for example. I used to be very much of the mindset, I need to achieve this, I need to get there, I need to stop suffering, I need to find more positivity in my life. But now it's just like, right, I've got these goals that I want to move towards, let's just see what happens. If it changes, fine. If it doesn't happen, fine, we'll do something else. And it just makes life a lot easier. That was a slide I had to take out. Routine. So we're built for routine. Your body and your brain will thank you if you have a routine in the morning and the evening. As I've already explained, you get up, you do the same thing, it helps you go to bed with the same thing. You've got some structure to the start and the end of your days. Doesn't matter what happens in the middle, at least the start and the end are structured, and you've got that bit of time to just calm down and recuperate and stuff. I've outlined mine, I'll not go over it. But first hour in the morning is basically, the analogy I heard is like when you're sleeping, your brain uploads all the stuff that happened in the day into a cloud, and then when you wake up the first hour of the day, you download it from the cloud into your hard drive, essentially. So you shouldn't go on screens because that disrupts it, and it means you don't remember or integrate the stuff from yesterday if you go on your phone straight away for that first hour, because you're looking at blue light, you're looking at all these different contexts, you're getting all these different ideas, you know, oh, there's a dog meme, oh, that's a nice photo, or, you know, some sort of news or something, that's annoying. So I would say hour in the morning to do something good for yourself, no screens or anything. Everything else, that's just kind of stuff that I do. Yeah, activity. Should we do this, Rebecca, or do we need to move on? Yeah, okay. I'm recording this, I'm going to put it in the chat, so if there's any activities that you don't manage to finish, you can re-look at it and do it in your own time. They're really useful, really, really useful, and they take next to no time at all. And it's not a short-term benefit. These will literally help you with life for the rest of your life, so I would recommend doing them. This is basically just a slide to say that do things for yourself. Don't do it for your ego. Don't do it because you think it's going to look good for someone else. Don't do it because your parents want you to do it. Don't do it because society expects it of you. Do it because it fits in with your own goals, with your own purpose, with your own whys, with your own ambitions, and it'll be a lot more meaningful. The more you look for external gratification from friends, lovers, teachers, employers, I don't know, all those things, they're unreliable forms of gratification, but if you're doing things for the good of yourself and because you love them and are passionate about them, that's a reliable form of gratification. Again, Buddhist philosophy is the more you chase external things, the more likely you are to set yourself up for suffering. Hopefully that makes sense. Compassion and reciprocity. I'm no angel, but I do try to live by these. Compassion is an action, not a thought. It can be hard to be compassionate towards people, or you can do uncompassionate things without even thinking or realizing. So you need to watch yourself and your actions and your thoughts and your words and what you're doing. But yeah, you feel good when you are compassionate, and you feel bad when you're not most of the time. Even if nothing's going right in your life, if you can help someone else and be compassionate, it'll make you feel a bit better. It'll make them feel better, and they might help you out in return. Reciprocity, that's, you know, you do this for me, I'll do this for you. You do me a favor, I'll do the favor back for you. That's a key part of a healthy relationship, and healthy reciprocal relationships are the secret to a long and meaningful life. TED Talk taught me that. Social media and the news. This is a huge source of stress for a lot of people, and in terms of resilience and overcoming it, you should probably not pay that much attention to it. It's good to be clued in, but you know, social media is designed to abuse your dopamine system, so you keep scrolling and liking. Every time you scroll, every time a new thing pops up, your brain gets a little hit of dopamine. You go, yeah, that was good, even if it wasn't good. That's the way your brain works. That's why you can scroll for hours and hours and hours and hours, even if you're not really enjoying it. It's because your brain is enjoying it, even if you're kind of, well, I don't know, actually. The mainstream news, now more adequately termed the corporate press, because they're not very popular anymore. The mainstream news is not the main source of news anymore. They are in a death spiral, essentially, and they have to produce content that is deliberately triggering so that you will engage with it. Clickbait, some sort of negativity, so that you think, oh, I'm going to have to comment on that and tell them like what I think or something like that. It's designed like that, so just try and keep away from the mainstream news. If you do read it, just think critically about it. and that kind of thing. We're hardwired to notice negativity over positivity. It's part of our evolutionary biology. You know, if you saw a tiger and you didn't think, oh, that's negative, I should react, you got eaten. So social media and the news are taking advantage of that, and it makes you feel worse when you engage with it. So you have to be wary and, you know, just try and avoid it or think critically and be positive. Social media is not a real place. So if you think that Twitter is reality, and like that's how everyone thinks, it's not. People tend to be a lot nicer in person than on social media because, as Mike Tyson said, social media has made it acceptable for you to chat shit and not get punched in the face. And it's true. It's full of trolls as well, troll bots. China, Russia, Ukraine, Iran, and probably the Western governments going over to the other side as well. They have troll farms on social media that are designed to divide our civilization. That sounds like a big leap, but that you can find that out for yourself. Facebook, I think a lot of the stuff around vaccines on Facebook is actually produced by bots trying to cause arguments and stuff, which obviously people who don't realize that, they see it and they think, what are you talking about? Like, why? And then comment and like and blah, 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 argue, get frustrated and stressed. Job achieved by the trolls. So just be wary of what you're looking at on social media and stuff. There's lots of fake news from everywhere. Learn to read and think critically. My sister doesn't look at the news at all, and it's really good for her. I can't do that because of my field of work. I kind of need to know what's going on. But she doesn't do it. If you can do that, I would recommend it, to be honest. I don't use TikTok, Facebook, or Twitter due to the troll farms and the political manipulation and all the arguments and stuff. It's just not worth it. About a year and a half ago, I decided I'm completely reorienting all of my social media to be only positive and people that I care about and that care about me or are interested in. And it's been way better since I did that. Nutrition, got some diet advice for you. I'm a flexitarian, so I'm pretty much a vegetarian, but I still eat meat. Sugar causes energy spikes and dips. Fat and protein give more stable energy. So if you eat loads of sugar, your energy is going to go up and then you're going to crash, and then you're going to go up and then it's going to crash. And that's going to be great and then stressful, and then great and then stressful. And you've got to keep eating, keep eating, keep eating. But if you eat fat and protein, good fats, good proteins, your energy will be a lot more stable and your mood will also be a lot more stable. So you're more capable or more able to deal with stress. Eat your vegetables. That sounds just like trivial. Everyone knows to eat your vegetables, but like there is a lot of science behind it. Even if you have a really bad diet, if you still eat your vegetables, it'll counteract a lot of the bad stuff. So yeah. High meat consumption, which is over 100 grams a day, which is not as much as you might think. Bacon's 30 grams, sausage is 50 grams, Big Mac's about 90 grams. That's especially high meat consumption, especially red meat and processed meat, is bad for the environment, but it's also bad for you. It's not very good for your blood or your arteries or your heart or your intestines, your digestive system, all those things. Meat is good, don't get me wrong. We evolved on the paleo diet, which is meat, nuts, berries, that kind of thing, but we didn't have 3 meals a day. Didn't have meat in the morning, meat in the afternoon, meat in the evening. We would have it and then we'd wait a while before we had it again. So although meat is good and we evolved on it and that kind of thing, not too much because we can't deal with it. Our gut is not designed to deal with it very well. And yeah, it's got lots of fat, it's type 1 carcinogen, those kind of things. It's not good. But eat your vegetables. Eat vegetables and it counteracts all that stuff. Nuts, lentils, and beans are good plant-based protein sources. Yeah, very nutritious superfoods, as they're called. Really good for you. In terms of stress and resilience, they digest a lot quicker, so you've got less blood going into your digestive system, more blood in your brain. The more blood you've got in the brain, the better that you can focus and work and stuff, which is why if you eat crap, really processed, heavy meat, heavy foods, it's going to be digesting for so long, you're not going to work as well. Things are going to get more stressful. If you're a veggie or a vegan, feeling tired, anxious, and unable to focus, check where you're getting your iron, your vitamin B12, and your creatine from. Iron is linked into your oxygen saturation in the blood, how much blood is available to the brain. If you've got an iron deficiency, which a lot of veggies and vegans do, I'm not trying to trash them. I'm just saying that this is a common thing-ish. Iron helps your blood and your oxygen and your brain. Vitamin B12 is essential for your brain. Creatine is tied into the first of your energy systems. You need creatine to have energy in the first of the systems before you move on to the other systems, but you want to be on that first system. You can, if that does relate to you, there are multivitamins on My Protein you can get. As I said, I'm a flexitarian. I find that's the best balance of eating what I want to eat and feeling good, and also being good for the environment and my own health and productivity and stuff. Intermittent fasting and time-restricted feeding. So I do that all the time. I'm actually fasting right now. I haven't eaten since Sunday evening, just water. And I feel great. It really helps. It's good for your body. It's good for, once you enter the fasting state, your body starts to break down all the bad cells, all these things. Your body goes into a cleaning process. It's good for losing weight. It's good for mental clarity, that kind of thing. I would highly advise looking more into that, because it also means you have to spend less time cooking and eating and digesting and those kind of things. I'm just constantly able to keep going because all my blood is in my brain rather than down here. Mindset and perception. We're almost done, and then we're going to move on to your projects and stuff and hopefully make up a lot of time, and I'll help you with those as well. You see what you believe and you aim towards. That's literally true. You see the world in forms of tools. That's not a four-legged thing, a chair. That's a sit-you-down thing. You know what I mean? You view things in the world as tools rather than just objective things. You know, I could sit on there. I'd still call it a chair. It's not a chair. You know what I mean? It's a sit-you-down place. That's what we actually think of chairs as. So, if you've got certain beliefs about the world, I think the world is this, I think the world is that. That is what you will see in the world. That's how it will present itself to you. If you have a certain goal, you set a new goal, your whole mind and the entire world will reorient itself so that the mode of being and the tools that are to be used to achieve that goal are what presents itself to you. There's an unlimited range of things that you can take notice of through your perception. So the way that your perception works is it uses your goals and your beliefs to filter down all the things that you can see and experience into what's relevant so that your brain can process it. Has anyone seen that video of the gorilla and the basketball? I was going to show it, but I haven't. Basically, there's like, people have thrown around a basketball. They say, right, focus on players passing the basketball. A gorilla runs across the screen. You don't see the gorilla because you're not focused on the gorilla. You're focused on the ball. That's the objective. It applies to life as well. Take individual responsibility for the suffering and destiny. It's kind of might seem a bit sad, but it's the easiest and the most fruitful approach to life. If you're going to try and, well, improving your own mindset and your own resilience and your own response to external stresses is way easier than trying to change the stresses themselves. Yes. Oh, I do apologise. Leave, please. Sorry I've taken up so much of your time now. If you want any help with your project, just give me a message.
We might come back in after.
Cool. Cool. All right. We're nearly done for everyone else who is itching to get doing their project. Yeah, it's way easier to change yourself and take things upon yourself and work on yourself and try to change everything else and everyone else in the external world. That's why researching things like personality and resilience are really important. Be your best self and smash through any glass ceilings. There are structural glass ceilings in our society. Some people like to say they're absolutely everywhere and there's absolutely loads. Some people like to say that they don't exist at all. They do. But the best thing you can do is be your best self, try and smash through them. Once you're your best self, then you can go to work on trying to change the system. But that's really difficult. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not others. So that's pretty self-explanatory. If you're better than you were yesterday, you're making progress and you're getting better. Life is going to get better. Comparing yourself to other people, you'll always feel inadequate. Do things that you don't want to do, but you know will be useful. That's where you achieve the most growth. I did strategic operations for business development last year because I knew I really didn't like it, but it was really useful. I did it and it was really useful. Public speaking, again, I was really scared of it, but I realized I need to learn this at some point, otherwise it'll bother me for the rest of my life. So I voluntarily approached it, even though I was scared and it was daunting. And now that I've been through that process, I can stand here and talk to you without feeling anxious at all. So that's been good. Gratitude. We all live in different circumstances, but basically we're the most privileged humans that have ever lived. So if you're looking for gratitude, which is good for you, if you practice gratitude, it's good for your brain. You feel more positive about your life. There is science to back that up as well. There's a lot of literature on it. So that's one thing to be happy for. You know, if you've got over 25 grand a year, we'll be earning that currently, or you will be within a few years, I would imagine, because you're all high potential students. That puts you in the top economic 1% of the world today, 25 grand a year. So you've got that to be grateful for. 1%. Yeah, historically, we're doing better than anyone ever. There's an interesting book which compares the life of John Rockefeller, who was the richest man ever in like the 1750s through to the 1800s or something. He had like multi-trillions of stuff, but compared to modern day society, we're still living a much better life because we've got phones, we've got healthcare, we've got all this stuff. His kid, John Rockefeller's, even though he was the richest man ever, died from a simple bacterial infection. So would you rather have the money and no healthcare, or would you rather have healthcare and maybe be in poverty today or something? Not poverty, but a little bit worse off. I hope you understand the point I'm trying to make there is, even though life is hard and we all have our suffering and our troubles and our barriers and stuff and people trying to do things to us, try and be grateful for some of the things that are in life, and you'll feel a lot better about life. And that also helps underpin service towards other people, which makes you feel good. Once I found out that stat that being in the over 25%, over 25 grand a year puts you in the top economic percent of the world, top 1%, I realized, okay, I need to use this position to benefit those that are less fortunate than me. That's what I try to do with my work, and I love it. So it feels great. And I'm grateful for it, and that's also great. 3 times a day, try and be grateful 3 times a day, and you'll feel better. Mindfulness is meditation. This is the last slide, okay? So we're almost done. And I left this till last for a reason, because this is the biggest call to action from me to you. I really, really, really would love it if you all started to just practice this a little bit, because it's so useful. The purpose of mindfulness and meditation is to calm the mind and body, be present and aware, set intentions such as compassion, focus, wisdom, calm, clarity, those kind of things, forgiveness. And also build on virtues and more. I know a few people in here meditate and find it really useful. Mr. Harry Hughes, he does. I was going to ask him to say a couple. Well, do you want to explain why you find it so useful?
Yeah, I've been doing it 4 months maybe. I'd say it just improves work. Maybe it's stress. I'm a lot less stressed with all my uni work and everything. But I'd say do it, get headspace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, we both use Headspace 365. We're buddies on there, so we can see who's been meditating. And yeah, it's just really, really useful. There's loads of courses. Like I say, I signed up. I spent 60 quid on the premium version. It's a little bit pricey, but it's for an entire year, £5 a month or so for improved state of mind and being. Like, it's a good investment, trust me. There's also lots of different themes and stuff that you can do on Headspace. So if you're feeling stressed, you can do stress. If you want to be compassionate, you can do compassionate. If you want to focus, you can do focus. All these different things that you can do, different forms of meditation that are really good for transcending stress. You're not your thoughts, feelings, or emotions. I remember we were having a conversation the other day about how sometimes we just lie in bed and there's just thoughts, and you just think, God, I just want to go to sleep and shut off. But you keep thinking. Huh? Yeah. That is one way. Yeah, fair enough. You can have a shot of brandy if you want. I would recommend meditation. You're not your thoughts, your feelings, or emotions. Once you meditate for a while, you learn how to watch your own thoughts and emotions as they pop up, rather than it popping up and you engaging in it and then acting it out. Let's say someone makes you angry, you immediately engage with that anger and then you want to do something. But once you've meditated for a while, you can see the anger pop up and then go, ooh, anger, hello, and then just watch it pass. And then you can have something else pop up that you can engage in, such as compassion. And that's a lot better for your own stress and resilience. And also just the benefit of other people. Yourself and your mindset is the only thing you bring to every situation and have control on. I've already covered this. You have the potential to be positive in every situation at any time. Anyone seen that photo of the monk that set himself on fire? I was going to include it, but then I thought it might be a bit too hard hitting. Basically, a monk in protest against something set himself on fire. The whole time he just sat there meditating. No bother at all, even though being set on fire is the most painful thing that a human can experience. That just goes to show, even in the very, very worst of circumstances, he was sat there and he was fine. He was happy, absolutely fine. So the more you meditate, the more you practice it, the more you can get to this position where even when you're in the worst possible circumstance, hopefully no one gets set on fire, you can overcome it and still be positive. Yeah, the past and future don't actually really exist. We constantly live in the present and project into the future and the past. Too much projection into the past or future can lead to a lot of stress. Anxiety is very much stress about the future. Post-traumatic stress disorder is very much often stuff from the past. If you spend too much time in there and not in the present, you get stressed. I've already done those. Breathe. If you're really stressed, just take a deep breath in and you'll feel it recalibrate, and then you recalibrate, and then deliver, do what you got to do. Where do thoughts and emotions come from? No one knows. I don't know. Scientists don't know. It's, you know, you think, I just think, and an idea pops up. It's not a very good explanation. Point being, no one knows, but you can sit and you can meditate and you can watch your own thoughts and emotions appear without engaging with them, note them, move on. So when you come to compassion, bitterness, resentfulness, you know, cruelty, like those kind of things, you can see them come up and then just transcend them rather than engaging with them. That's a link to take you to the Headspace website, which you can then use to download it onto your phone. I would highly, highly recommend it. That's exactly why I've left it on the very last page, because if there was one thing that you should take away from this whole talk is I think that meditating will be unbelievably useful for every single one of you, because we're all human, and praying and stuff also counts as meditating. So if you're faithful, that's good. That's it. Just some about references. I didn't do these properly, but you know, interesting, useful sources. I'll give a shout out to Jordan B. Peterson. He's a clinical psychologist. He's like an internet celebrity. Some people hate him, some people love him. I happen to have found 95% of his work unbelievably useful. So he's top of my references list. If you're going to look at anyone from here, he's the man. 5% of the stuff I've listened to him has been a bit like, oh, you know, not sure about that. But the other 95% is good. And then, yeah, if you want to kind of look into, if you found anything that I've said useful or inspiring, this is my reference list. A few philosophical things, a few religious things, a few podcasts, a few areas. And yeah, I put some useful links on here as well. The meme pages that I follow, you know, some of them are acquired taste, but I would recommend looking at them if you're a fan of memes. And then just other useful links: my protein, multivitamins, proteins, fats, those kind of things. Buywholefoods.com, it's in the name. Selfauthoring.com is goal setting. Instagram pages that I follow that are just either interesting or beautiful, as in like BBC Earth, that kind of thing, or useful. YouTube links for all the different sources. That's it.
Honestly, you shared so much stuff on there. There's so many little bits that I'm. Thank you. I really.
That's all right. You're welcome.
You've
Well,
been willing to share your experiences as well.
Thanks. Yeah, I've got the recording as well, so you can have that as well. Yeah, if you've got any questions, ask me them at another time, but now it's time for you to actually do some work.
You know, you're going to be staying a little while.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
So, did everyone find at least one thing useful? Sweet, that's my job done then.
One
Happy.
thing makes a tiny bit of difference to your.
Yeah, well, a lot of the stuff that I put in here, each individual thing has been very useful for me. So hopefully with a whole collection of things, you'll find lots of useful things. Don't forget.
Get to stop recording then.
Yeah, I have. All right, thanks for listening. Thanks for engaging.
Oh yeah, thank you so much.
That's all right.
So yeah, by all means, you know, stay and then advice.
I will. I'll help you all.
Does everybody want to talk to me this year, or just certain people? So I just go my way around and put your hands up if you want to talk to me. Just go ahead.
Whoop. Ha.
Alright, but I'll start over there. If anyone has anything.
So I would like to just